Only when the tide goes out do you discover who's been swimming naked. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken. Price is what you pay. Value is what you get. We simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy only when others are fearful. Predicting rain doesn't count. Building arcs does. In the business world, the rearview mirror is always clearer than the windshield. I always knew I was going to be rich. I don't think I ever doubted it for a minute. The only way to get love is to be lovable. It's very irritating if you have a lot of money. You'd like to think you could write a check. I'll buy $1 million worth of love. But it doesn't work that way. The more you give love away, the more you give love away, the more you get. In the 20th century, the United States endured 2 world wars and other traumatic and expensive military conflicts. The Depression, a dozen or so recessions and financial panics, oil shocks, a flu epidemic, and the resignation of a disgraced president. Yet the Dow rose from 66 to 11,497. Our favorite holding period is forever. Time is the friend of the wonderful company, the enemy of the mediocre. It's better to hang out with people better than you. Pick out associates whose behavior is better than yours, and you'll drift in that direction. If past history was all there was to the game, the richest people would be librarians. The first rule is not to lose. The second rule is not to forget the first rule. The investor of today does not profit from yesterday's growth. I bought a company in the mid-90s called Dexter Shoe and paid $400 million for it, and it went to zero. And I gave about $400 million worth of Berkshire stock, which is probably now worth $400 billion. But I've made lots of dumb decisions. That's part of the game. If you get to my age in life and nobody thinks well of you, I don't care how big your bank account is. Your life is a disaster. Economic medicine that was previously meted out by the cupful has recently been dispensed by the barrel. These once unthinkable dosages will almost certainly bring on unwelcome after effects. Their precise nature is anyone's guess, though one likely consequence is an onslaught of inflation. Your premium brand had better be delivering something special, or it's not going to get the business. A public opinion poll is no substitute for thought. The business schools reward difficult, complex behavior more than simple behavior, but simple behavior is more effective. Risk is a part of God's game, alike for men and nations. We believe that according the name investors to institutions that trade actively is like calling someone who repeatedly engages in one-night stands a romantic. If anything, taxes for the lower and middle class, and maybe even the upper middle class, should even probably be cut further. But I think that people at the high end, people like myself, should be paying a lot more in taxes. We have it better than we've ever had it. We're still in a recession. We're not going to be out of it for a while, but we will get out. Beware of geeks bearing formulas. Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. It's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. When a management with a reputation for brilliance tackles a business with a reputation for bad economics, it is the reputation of the business that remains intact. Wall Street is the only place that people ride to in a Rolls Royce to get advice from those who take the subway. Rule: no one. Never lose money. Rule no. 2. Never forget rule no 1. Should you find yourself in a chronically leaking boat, energy devoted to changing vessels is likely to be more productive than energy devoted to patching leaks. I buy expensive suits. They just look cheap on me. I don't look to jump over 7-foot bars. I look around for 1-foot bars that I can step over. Derivatives are financial weapons of mass destruction. Only buy something that you'd be perfectly happy to hold if the market shut down for 10 years. I never attempt to make money on the stock market. I buy on the assumption that they could close the market the next day and not reopen it for 5 years. Basically, when you get to my age, you'll really measure your success in life by how many of the people you want to have love you actually do love you. You only have to do a very few things right in your life so long as you don't do too many things wrong. When you combine ignorance and leverage, you get some pretty interesting results. You do things when the opportunities come along. I've had periods in my life when I've had a bundle of ideas come along. And I've had long, dry spells. If I get an idea next week, I'll do something. If not, I won't do a damn thing. Look at market fluctuations as your friend rather than your enemy. Profit from folly rather than participate in it. We enjoy the process far more than the proceeds. The best thing I did was to choose the right heroes. There are 309 million people out there that are trying to improve their lot in life, and we've got a system that allows them to do it. There seems to be some perverse human characteristic that likes to make easy things difficult. Americans are in a cycle of fear which leads to people not wanting to spend and not wanting to make investments, and that leads to more fear. We'll break out of it. It takes time. Wide diversification is only required when investors do not understand what they are doing. If a business does well, the stock eventually follows. It's never paid to bet against America. We come through things, but it's not always a smooth ride. Of the billionaires I have known, money just brings out the basic traits in them. If they were jerks before they had money, they are simply jerks with $1 billion. The big question about how people behave is whether they've got an inner scorecard or an outer scorecard. It helps if you can be satisfied with an inner scorecard. Today, people who hold cash equivalents feel comfortable. They shouldn't. They have opted for a terrible long-term asset, one that pays virtually nothing and is certain to depreciate in value. We always live in an uncertain world. What is certain is that the United States will go forward over time. Value is what you get. The rich are always going to say that, just give us more money and we'll go out and spend more, and then it will all trickle down to the rest of you. But that has not worked the last 10 years, and I hope the American public is catching on. We've used up a lot of bullets, and we talk about stimulus. But the truth is, we're running a federal deficit that's 9% of GDP. That is stimulative as all get out. It's more stimulative than any policy we've followed since World War II. The smarter the journalists are, the better off society is. For to a degree, people read the press to inform themselves, and the better the teacher, the better the student body. I sent one email in my life. I sent it to Jeff Reichs at Microsoft, and it ended up in court in Minneapolis, so I am 1 for 1. I am quite serious when I say that I do not believe there are, on the whole earth besides, so many intensified bores as in these United States. No man can form an adequate idea of the real meaning of the word without coming here. The only time to buy these is on a day with no I in it. I just think that when a country needs more income, and we do, we're only taking in 15% of GDP. I mean that when a country needs more income, they should get it from the people that have it. I would say the most satisfying thing actually is watching my 3 children each pick up on their own interests and work many more hours per week than most people that have jobs at trying to intelligently give away that money in fields that they particularly care about. People talk about this being an uncertain time. All time is uncertain. I mean, it was uncertain back in 2007, we just didn't know it was uncertain. It was uncertain on September 10th, 2001. It was uncertain on October 18th, 1987. You just didn't know it. Why not invest your assets in the companies you really like? As Mae West said, too much of a good thing can be wonderful. I am a huge bull on this country. We will not have a double-dip recession at all. I see our businesses coming back almost across the board. You have no ability. If you're a financial institution and you're threatened with criminal prosecution, you have no ability to negotiate. I think that both parties should declare the debt limit as a political weapon of mass destruction which can't be used. I mean, it is silly to have a country that has 237 years building up its reputation and then have people threaten to tear it down because they're not getting some other matter. Let blockheads read what blockheads wrote. I think the most important factor in getting out of the recession actually is just the regenerative capacity of American capitalism.